It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. Welcome home. It's so good to see you. Welcome home. It's so good to see you. Welcome home. And even if they say I'll never step in the same river twice, I can still try to recreate a moment, try to recreate a home. Welcome home. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. Welcome home. masterfully. What a gift to know your arrival.
So funny, it's not like it feels like it's happening, you know, it hold around there. Okay. Get your help. Okay. Take your shot. Take a breath. Hold it. Fear not. A little bit more. There's a lot of pressure. That's okay. Go with it. They'll let you know when to stop. Keep coming. That's coming. Hold on, reach it. Okay. Feel it. That's the head. It's just everything's stretching. You're doing fine. Okay, one more breath. Come on. A little bit more. Okay.
Welcome home. This gift of being in a body, welcome home. This gift of being yours, welcome home. This gift of being here, welcome home. Observed in an instant, observed in an instant, observed in an instant, observed in an instant. Welcome home. soliloquy. 1,000 phones ring, 1,000 forced smiles, 1,000 how are yous? How are you? How are you? Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Hi, hi, how are you? How are you? 1,000 voices talking loudly. How are you? No, how are you? You look great. How are you? How are you? 1,000 voices talking loudly. Night passes. Every exhibition does. Did you get what you came here for? When she asks you, what will you tell her? Did you get what you came here for? Did you find what you were looking for? 1,000 voices talking loudly. 1,000 voices asking nothing. She had old hands. When I sat with her, I felt like if I wasn't watching her, she would disappear. She had old hands. She said it was good to talk to me. She could tell that I was on the path, and I appreciated seeing me. said they can't all be seekers. Some of us are finders. She knew exactly what it meant to be free. She had these old hands. I read that she spent her life sitting. And I don't understand why she's out in the desert now.
She said it was good to talk to me. She could tell that I was on the path, and I appreciated seeing me.
I said they can't all be seekers. Some of us are finders. She knew exactly what it meant to be free. She had these old hands. She said it was good to talk to me. She could tell that I was on the path, and I appreciated seeing me. I said they can't all be seekers. I said they can't all be seekers. Some of us are finders. She knew exactly what it meant to be free. And she had these old hands.
I said they can't all be seekers. Some of us are finders. She knew exactly what it meant to be free. And she had these old hands. Free. Sorry, find exactly. And she had these old hands. She said it was good to talk to me. She took out one on the couch and I appreciated seeing me. I said they can't all be seekers. Some of us are finders. She knew exactly what it meant to be free. And she had these old hands.
Give you just enough to feel progress. And it goes down easy.
Well, first thing I just want to say, that was incredibly beautiful. Like, yeah,
Thank you.
I thought that was just totally amazing.
Thank you.
And I maybe I want to just start with a little statement about what one of the difficulties about, I think, or my observation of difficulties about that I see when people talk about technologically oriented improvised material, which is that it's hard to get around talking about the kind of how do you do that question, and that which in a way would be like, oh, we just saw an Evan Parker concert and we're saying, how do you get that thing to make those noises?
Yeah.
Which is a kind of dumb place to start, right? Like you want to start someplace.
I would start there with
else.
him, so I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I chose the wrong example.
No,
Yes,
I
that's
think,
true.
I think it's important, but to that point, it's like you never really know. Like if you're asking somebody how they made a sandwich, like some people want to know, well, how did you bake that bread? I understand how you put a sandwich together. Or they are like, but how did you grow the wheat? They want to take it all the way back there, and technology is the same way. So
Right.
it's endless.
But you could come at a sandwich very differently from that, right? You could also come at it in terms of its taste profile.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gluten free, so that sandwich is already gonna be fucking weird, right?
Right
Like,
here. Both of
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
So why are we talking about bread?
I don't know. I wanted a food analogy. I was
Because
trying to distract.
we gluten-free people are
I'm
constantly
hungry. The
thinking
truth is,
about
I'm
bread.
very hungry. I am so hungry. It is ridiculous. This is the hungriest show I've ever done.
Wow, a hungry interview too.
Yeah,
That's
truly.
amazing. But I was thinking about that because I was beginning to aim at asking you questions about how you did it, and then I really, especially just having been immersed in it, I wanted to not ask that question to start and really ask you about tone, because that piece had a very specific tone to me. It had a kind of an elegiac quality, and I have other like technical questions and other stuff like that, but I want to just talk about tone and kind of how you, so maybe talking about the feel of the piece and how that reads to you, how whether that element of it felt successful to you, and in what ways.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. That's a great way to think about it. You know, so much of the way I approach improvising with technology and improvising with visuals is building a set first, like building the language first, and then kind of figuring out how to speak it as I'm going through rehearsals or processing. And this show was a little bit, kind of funny to me in some ways, because I realized I've been doing like the exact same show for 20 years, and it's like no one else would ever feel that way but me, because it has changed so much. And the tone of this piece was really merging into a new technology. So a lot of the content is from my family archive, and I've been working with my family archive, which includes my father as a baby and my father and his family kind of through the early 50s, and at like Foster in California here in Chicago, and then footage of my own birth and my own personal archive because the video camera was around. But this particular piece, I trained a piece of AI from a company, Nilor, that partnered with me to ingest that material and my ideas about viewing that material in making a new piece out of it. And the tone for me was really based around kind of the opening, and when I spoke with Claire about it too, about this idea of welcome home. For me, I left Chicago for a little while during the pandemic, and I've been rebuilding a home in a place that is already feeling like home. So both like the idea of welcoming and the reality of the ever-present polarization of othering that I feel simultaneously is something that was really the tone of the piece. And it was it came through with the AI as it was like building itself. It started to have this like apocalyptic VHS feel to it. And then we just leaned into that even more, like double click, enhance. And yeah.
It's interesting because so in that sense, the tone was something that you set out knowing that it would be there. In part, that was determined to
You
some
hope
extent.
so. You hope so.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that, yeah, you hope so. But improvisation, like, you never really know. And I'm really particular, especially like from the time I wake up till I play a piece that's my piece, of like not fucking up the vibe in my head. So that is an important part. Tonality, I think, to me, like, I don't really listen to music. I don't really watch any media. I try not to like really engage with anything else other than that intention for at least the day. So then it comes out. Otherwise, you kind of never know. Like, there's definitely been shows where I'm collaborating with other people where like my whole day was super serious, and then I show up and everybody's playful, and the next thing you know, it's cartoons. So that's the alchemy, right? I think that's the reason that I like improvising so much more than doing a show that's really written. Because then, yeah, it has that chance.
But you're also trying to not fuck it up, so you
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that thing of like not having, I think about that because I respond to that. I was thinking about how, the option series is structured with these conversations afterwards. And I remember when I first started setting up concerts in the 80s, there were these Meet the Composer grants that were hotly desired. And one of the conditions was that you had to have a conversation, and they had it structured so you had the conversation before the music, which was a drag because of just what you're talking about. It was awful. Would be like we were doing this right now, and then you guys were about to perform.
I'm a mess. Like,
Yeah,
before
right?
a show, I'm like, if there was a way that I could afford to be in a Faraday cage on a flatbed truck and then like forklifted in, and like no one can even look me in the eye before a show, like I could, I would go there. Like, thank God I don't have the money to be as weird as I could be.
That's weird. That's
Yeah.
good. But it's interesting because for you, it's that day. It's like you wake up that day, and then that,
Yeah.
or
Whenever I wake up, like sometimes, like if I have a show that's late, I'll sleep later. Like I'll sleep at 5 just so that I can reset my consciousness. I have a weird relationship with sleep. I sleep very well, but I sleep very often as well. I do a lot of like short sleeps, and then I have a new day that starts at 4 o'clock, or a new day that starts at 7, and then I just have another mini day.
You are a lucky person.
Well, I have really bad blood, so I'm tired all the time. So it's like if I'm not, and then I like crash and I go all the way into REM sleeping, then come all the way back up.
Okay, I take that back.
You don't want this.
You're not a lucky person.
No. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
you are a
but
lucky
not for
person,
that.
but not for that
the
reason.
sleep.
Yeah, okay.
There's other stuff.
Well, maybe I was thinking a little bit while watching and listening, just thinking a little bit about. I'm going to put a little field of possibilities out there, and we can kind of dabble in them for a minute. So I was thinking about like 4 things that feel to me like they're questions about improvising the way I see you improvising. And I think it applies to Claire too, which, so here would be the series of 4 questions. Mm-hmm. When and how do you source your material? And when and how do you source your material? What do you do to it? When do you do it? Like, when do you do what you do to it? And how does it correspond to the sound in this case, or not? So like those 4 areas feel to me like they're, I'm interested in how you're improvising along those lines, like starting with that question. You've already started to talk about it using the AI component, and just, when and how do you source your material, and how important is that to you? If you could just do it one way for the rest of your life, would that be satisfying to you?
I mean, I feel like other than this AI shit, like I have really been doing the same thing for over 20 years of mixing video. It's every time I look over to my table and I see a laptop, I'm like, I fucking love the future. I used to mix with like VCRs, So I would have like big, VCRs and a huge mixer. So, but it would be the same thing. So, the sourcing for this show, and every show is kind of like its own thesis. It's like its own little universe. And then, sometimes they'll come back out, and then a lot of times they just sit on a hard drive until I need them again. But this one, a lot of it was the AI was really the only sourcing other than my own archive of my family home videos and things like that. And that was really difficult for me. Like I've been working so much with feedback and with analog video for so long. There's almost, like a comfort in that. Like I know what broken video signals do. I know how they behave. I know how feedback behaves. So it's like committing to playing without that, committing to playing without the mixers, and kind of moving into this place where the AI is going to have to give me that thing that I'm looking for, of the distortion and the ability to work with it. I don't rely on the software for anything more than triggering and fading and doing a little bit of time remapping. So I don't do any effects in software, usually, and in this show that's true. So the sourcing was really there. I've been really interested and skeptical of AI. I work a lot with technology in my creative practice in the kind of immersive and experiential place. But in my art practice, it's been very, very analog. So it was really important to me, that the folks that I worked with understood doing something that would be very contained, where the ideas that I had and the way that I wanted something, that I had a certain level of control. So while there's a lot of like prompt-based AI, there's not iterative revisions inside the prompt. So that's one of the things that Nilor does that I was particularly interested in, is that it becomes conversational. So the same way that I'm working with feedback from a visual and an analog video statement, that I'm doing that with AI. And I'm doing it verbally, and I'm doing it visually, and telling it what I do and do not like, telling it where I want certain edits to make. And AI is stupid. Like, it's a really dumb tool most of the time until you really start to get it going and get it cooking and telling it, how you want certain things. And I could spend maybe forever still trying to perfect certain things. And I think feedback is the same way. It has a wildness that I'm really attracted to. So bringing that into this show was a lot of fun. The mistakes of it were beautiful. There's a series of videos of like the profile and of people's faces, and they're kind of like morphing back and forth. And all of those were generated out of stills from a previous show that Claire and I did. And they're just images of Claire and I that were ingested and then repeated and then kind of minimized. So I would cut out certain interpretive terms I'd be like, nope, you're not allowed to use that one. Like, let's go through the filter again. And there are a couple different versions of it. So it would modify itself in a way that I was really interested in. And it's not trying to please me. It's just trying to understand its idea of correctness. No, that's okay. I thought he was the ghost again. When the light cuts out, it's my friend.
Yeah, I thought that section was fantastic. It was really, really, really interesting. And it was doing really, really interesting things to the image. And I wondered a little bit whether that was you guys, but it had been obviously morphed a lot. So, but I thought that was really beautiful. I mean, there was another section as well, since we're talking about the, content of it. There was that which struck home for me a lot, which was the dystopic art community moment with people shuffling around like idiots. And what was interesting to me in that moment also was the poem, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about how your use of poetry in relationship to this, and in relation to what Claire was doing. So the kind of way that you're then introducing your sound into that in this kind of other way. So, but in that section you were talking about, you were sort of amplifying the dystopia, I think, in an interesting way. You were in Chicago long enough to probably know that. So I wrote that poem about the MCA solstice party in 2001.
And it's a much, maybe it was 99 or 2000, it's 2000, summer of 2000. It's a much longer, much angrier poem. And that was one of the few pieces where I was like, I really want to try to do this, and I wonder if the whole thing will come out. You know, like this fucking poem has been lodged in my brain forever. So yeah, that was like a moment. So there were, you know, just to get into some of your questions, you know, there were some key moments where, you know, I wanted to audition certain things and see, you know, like how they come out. Because for me, I don't get the same energy in rehearsal that I get playing, and especially when I'm working in duo or in a small group with somebody else. And Claire's amazing to work with, the way that you know, we rehearse, and it's kind of like, oh, we have these little ideas and we'll try some stuff out, but then when you string them all together, you may not, you know, all the pearls may not make it on the string at the showtime. And that was a piece that I knew I wanted in there, and it just kind of came today, but I don't even know if it showed itself that much in like rehearsals and things like that. And it's funny, I placed as like a national slam poet in 2000, but I lived in Florida. So I wasn't gonna go, I'm not gonna be on a Florida team, come on, you know. And I was in college, guys, that's why I was there.
Slam poetry? Yo.
It's true. It's true. So that's part of my like.
How about, was it like a Green
real.
Mill thing?
Yeah, like I was like really big in that world in the 90s, and like in the aught and like early aughts, but really in like the late 90s. You know, I think I might be at the place now where I've played as many video shows as I've done poetry shows, but for many years in my late teens, it was like, how many shows a week am I really going to subject people to listening to me? And it was many, 3 or 4 sometimes, a lot, many times. I would want people to listen to it all the time. But yeah, like I was at the Heartland Cafe every week as a teenager. I was at the Burkhart Underground constantly, and, you know, spent time with Fred in a normal way throughout my teenage years, doing art there, which was really, really great. And yeah, you know, it's been something. I had a conversation a couple years ago with a good friend of mine, Jamie Branch, who's passed, and she was telling me about how good it feels to play solo. Like, you don't need any other motherfuckers. Like, you just get up there and you have a set and you just go and you give it. And as a video artist, I studied music and I did all this poetry, but it was like in this early part of my life, and it hadn't really come through with my friends in my community that I was doing video with, but I really wanted it. So she'd keep kind of like provoking me and pushing me, like, well, when are you gonna, you know, like, you gonna put a mic out? Like, we play a show, she'd be like, you gonna put a mic on the stage? Like, because she would know that I would want it, but I had a lot of hesitation in crossing those streams. So it's been a couple years that I've been miking in different shows like Freedom From and Freedom To, and at Comfort Station, and little opportunities where I feel like I can like test my waters. But I wanted to integrate those things and see how it felt, you know, and see if it still moves me, you know, like there's an adrenaline to it. In the process of putting the show together, one of the pieces of media that I tried to get was a recording of the first time that I read poetry on stage, which was a funeral at the library in 1989 for this woman's husband, that I didn't know at the time that they were like volunteer grandparents. I just thought I had these cool friends in their 60s when I was like 7. And I think I like asked to do it, and I was trying to get that recording because I remember it happening. I remember showing up there, and I think it was the first time I had like really intense awareness of being on stage, because I remember being there and then realizing that there would be so many people, and I think I had asked to do it. And you know, there's something about that adrenaline for me that is really just like really seductive, and it only happens when you're like really raw and vulnerable and in front of people. You know, it can't be synthesized in the studio. So, you know, this particular show was a lot about, you know, like what material can I push myself around with, and, you know, see how uncomfortable I can get.
I mean, that's so interesting too, because I think like the AI component of it feels in some ways so robotic, right? And so you have this kind of like very unemotional component that's there helping control this very emotionally loaded material, and or having a dialogue with it or doing whatever. And then you also have this, this poetry, which also has a very strong emotional component. And I think that was one of the things that was so remarkable to me, was that that's why I asked about tone, because it really sort of had this really consistent tone throughout, which felt, now knowing that it was familial material, it did look like that, but it was, I didn't know that for sure. But that sense of there being some very personal relationship to those images, and then seeing things, and then there being places that wasn't true, like that whole section where the kind of boxes and cars and all of that stuff was happening, which was really strange.
And the
really,
fleeing that started.
Yeah. And that kind of like apocalyptic moment with the buildings, or the whole scene as it was disintegrating in some way, again had that elegiac or melancholic quality.
Yeah, I got a funny question. I showed some work. I'm in a group where we kind of, workshop stuff together. And somebody said to me, they're like, you're a real cut up, but this is some real serious shit in your show. And I realized, like, it's only really serious for me. You know what I mean? Like, nobody else is uncomfortable. I joke around about it, but hopefully you weren't, And I think that's the playful nature of it for me, is how, like, you wouldn't know if that was really my family, like, you'd have no way of knowing.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, especially because I work with other family archives, it's like, well, if I'm going to do it with their family, I got to do it for my own family, right? Like, I have to do it for myself. And I think, oh my goodness, I lost my train of thought.
Well, one of the interesting things to me is this question of the like the interiority of it on the one hand, and because I was thinking a little bit about the use of feedback on the one hand, which is a closed loop kind of situation, and then the idea of using AI in a way that's really controlled, as you have, as opposed to like something that also potentially opens up and suggests, which is, using it as a bridge to resources that you can't predict. Like, you're talking about resources that you're controlling, and they're contained, they're in a box, you're then doing things to them, maybe they don't appear. That's whether they'll be there or not is the one real question, aside from how they get treated. But then, like, AI sort of opens up as a potential bridge, using the internet or using any different set of resources, other kinds of archives, other kinds of image resources. And I wonder if that's of interest to you, or, it's very different from the way that you're doing this.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think at some point, one of the funny things to me, especially with personal archives, and I'm really particularly only interested in VHS archives. I feel like there's enough people that care about film. Good for them. It's so hard to do VHS as AI. Like, analog video is it's so rigid in like how it functions and what it does. But when you start to ask AI to do that kind of manipulation, and there were glitches and like feedback and stuff that were there, but they morphed, right? They didn't move the way that actual static and like actual video moves. And I think it'll be difficult to really mimic that at scale. Like, it's really easy to make a still image, but making things move realistically is still extraordinarily difficult without a lot of manipulation and a lot of fine tuning. And at that point, why don't you just go get a broken TV, right? So there's a little bit of like, I think for me in the work, like, what is really the point of this AI? Like who, and this is for myself too, like who is so fixated with the perfection of something that is unnecessary, And I think the most interesting thing that started happening were some of the AI pieces of the old hands. There were like a lot of hands grasping together, and those mistakes that AI makes because it doesn't really understand what comforting means. Comforting is a really hard concept, and that was a big part of generating those videos, were hands comforting one another and really just asking it to know that idea. And I love that. I love that for all of us, you know, because I think it opens up some of these bigger questions on, you know, our own memories of what is real. And I think in a lot of the video work that I've done and that I'm interested in, it deals with a lot of ideas of memory and video and archiving and like, what is the impulse to preserve? What is the impulse to share? You know, if you're wearing costumes in this home video, is it still real? You know, if someone knows that you're recording it, is it still real? You know, like, where is the line of the knowingness? You know, and that's, you know, in the tone of this piece too, you know, one of the things that Claire played is this really funny part of my birth where I think I'm like 4 seconds old. And then the doctor goes, "Oh, she's very pretty." And it's like, I got like 4 seconds before I got judged. You know what I mean? And like, I think there's something about that when we start looking at personal archive work that becomes more and more interesting to me.
I'm interested in that. I mean, one of the things that I feel is an important part of improvisers' use of technology in general, whether it's a saxophone or audiovisual material of the electronic and digital variety, is finding the edges and figuring out how to break it and then use it broken. And one of the interesting things that you just brought up is this notion that you would have, like, by giving a prompt that's a very human prompt that this machine can't fucking figure out, like an affect question that the machine just cannot decipher, and then seeing how it wrongly interprets that. That's an interesting thing. And seeing that, then one of the things, again, I mean, I keep coming back to this question of tone, but partially because it was I keep calling it elegiac, but it's something I couldn't quite put my finger on the tone. It wasn't exactly that. And maybe that's part of it, is that it was you were coming up with ways of tricking the machine into doing something that it couldn't quite do. And so it ends up producing something that you couldn't quite predict, which is, I guess, also part of what the job of improvising is.
Yeah. And, you know, I talk about my collaboration with Claire as being psychic dialogue because it really, like, when you're in it, you're in it, you know, and there's so much trust that goes on, you know, in sharing audio and visual language. And then, yeah, like, you don't really know, like, we did a couple pieces, you know, in building this that were so sweet. And I was like, ooh, this is so sweet. None of that happened today. You know, like, there were entire sections where, like, that just didn't happen, you know, and I think it's important to just be able to throw pieces away like that. You know, I think some of the worst I've ever felt and performed as an improviser was in my early years of mixing, of being like, well, I made it and I want to show it. But, you know, like, there has to be this, like, this very disposable quality, I think, to me, of like what we do as improvisers, even though we also want it to be like this precious diamond that is forever, that we will cherish that moment. I think within the moment itself, it has to feel completely disposable.
Well, otherwise we see it with instrumental improvisers all the time, the ones who want to sort of show you what they can do.
Oh, yeah.
I've come up with this special thing that I do, and please help me make a place for me.
Yeah, this set's not over till I get those bells out of my bag.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
We've all been there. Yeah. I've been that guy.
It's nice actually seeing like an instrument on stage with somebody that they don't play.
I love that. I thought about doing that because I have all these, like, busted instruments in my house. I thought about just vibing out Ken and, like, bring a bunch of stuff. I'll do it someday. He won't know that I had this conversation with you.
Bring a bass clarinet. That would be good.
Totally.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, like a whole bunch of them, like 6 of them for a duo, you know?
Yeah. Why does she need 6 of the same instrument?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that too. And I mean, you can't see it because it's on my computer, but there's, like, a lot of that. Like, there's a lot of material that I won't go through. And I think, you know, I've been mixing for 20 years now, and I think it took 10 for me to really understand that, like, less is fucking more. You know, like, some of the best shows I've ever played, I've had like 5 clips, and so much was figuring out what to do or where to go, you know, or you know, shows where I've just played feedback. You know, I had a show with Robin Zurich years ago that was so much fun, and he gave me like 4 still images and was like, "That's the show." You know, and as a video person, it's like, well, that's going to be really boring unless I figure something out. You know, and I like that kind of problem solving in collaborations too. I think, you know, I think my work with Claire, like, we've always kind of had this like very, you know, game on mentality of like, oh, we're going to build this world. What have you got? What have you got? Like, oh, I've got this thing. And I sent her all kinds of strange material, like leading up to this. I have this like listening device. So while I was living in Canada, I was like creepy recording people on the beach. And I had these like field recordings of auctioneers and stuff out in the farmlands. And we had a lot of fun with those, but they weren't for today. They were for us, you know, like I think that's important.
That Rempus section.
Oh my God, we had to get him in there.
That was so great.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. And the kind of percussion element along with it.
Yeah.
It was just fantastic.
Yeah, that was a real treat. You know, Dave is such a gift. And I really wanted there to be a way to know that we're slowing down. Like the same way that I have certain visual cues in certain clips where, you know, Claire knows if she, you know, she has a preview monitor here so that she can see my feed direct. She doesn't have to look over. You know, if I hit a certain clip, she'll be like, oh, the hands are coming, you know, like she has some familiarity. And the same way I have familiarity of like, oh, Dave is coming. That means, you know, we're in the ramp down and I should get ready for X, Y, and Z. And yeah, that's kind of all you got.
Yeah.
You know, little tiny gestures.
Do you think of these as structured improvisations?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So-
It wouldn't be fair to say that they're not, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Should we open it up to
We should.
some people asking unforeseen questions? We'll open it up to the
To
internet.
you or to me or to either of us? Are these questions
to
open?
you.
Okay,
This is
all right.
to you.
So I love like your like kind of multi-act development across different visual styles, culminating in the AI stuff. But in the middle, there was this period where it was like this beautiful, trippy, like melting rainbow face situation. Was that also AI embedded, or was that your own stuff?
Yeah, that's part of, I'm trying this particular AI, I'm trying to get it to understand video and understand video feedback because.
I love that section. I thought it
Thank
was
you.
a highlight for me for sure.
I really, thank you. I want to make more of it. And there were a couple of clips that it spit out that were so bizarre from that series that they couldn't be used. But I'm like, I'm going to use them someday. Like at one point, and I think I have it online. It was like, it made a man with 1,000 abs with like, it was so many abdominals. And like, I have literally no abdominal at all.
That section just like spoke to me. Like it was like a very like outside of the narrative element of the piece. You know?
Thank you. That was kind of what started me wanting to work, I think, more with AI, was starting to, yeah, that stuff, because like there's an aesthetic of my work and an aesthetic of analog video, and like watching AI, yeah, like watching AI try to figure that out, and like, you know, a little bit AI, I try to like think, like, how do I make it like a puppy? So it's like, I want to get it right for you. You know, like I have to imagine it that way so that it doesn't dystopian me. But yeah.
It's like mushroom trip, like
Yeah.
yeah, I feel that.
Especially because like that stuff came out of like show footage of mine. So I play a lot of footage that has like old stag films and women dancing. So it was interpreting video feedback and these images of different women, but they were so distorted that there were a lot of times where it didn't know what to do, and it would like try to make too much body or not enough.
Yeah, the melting, morphing body, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the elongating neck. That was a really amazing,
that long neck.
amazing section. Yeah.
I love giraffes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
This might be a dumb question, but in terms of like your collaboration, is the audio like purely in service of the film? Like, is it a one-sided collaboration, or in the improvisation of it, is there any like response that you have to the music as it's happening?
Well, yeah, I'm talking. Were you in the other room? Okay, well, I'm talking. So my voice is live. And then my voice is feeding to Claire. So I think that answered that. Cool. All right. Yeah. You were in the TV room, the TV lounge, as we call it now.
So I loved when you were talking about what you were feeding the AI and like how you're working with it, and the image of the hands. I'll just go back to that, and you were saying you're feeding it like this concept of comforting and trying to get it to understand. So in addition to like feeding it different concepts, trying to teach it, you have your archives. What else? Like, could you talk more about the interaction with the AI? Like, are you writing it specific prompts? What were some of the questions? Or are you doing it live? Is it predetermined?
It's predetermined. Yeah, there's some generative stuff that's out there, but the processor power that I would need is outside of my reach. It's a really good question. I think one of the things that's specific to Nilor and this platform and the kind of AI that I'm using, because they're totally all very different. It's just like the same way we're all very unique and we process things different. Is that it ingests images. So the images of the old hands all started with video that I took on an iPod of my grandma making a sandwich and then shuffling cards. And when I last saw her, it was like the last times we were together, I shot these videos of her hands because I loved her hands so much. They were so intense. And my whole life she had old hands. My grandma lived into her 90s. And, so it got that imagery to kind of get it started. And then I started giving it a little more imagery. So there were some manipulated stock videos that I used in there. So I would send it that one to explain, or try to explain what comforting is and what it meant. But I love that it didn't understand the pluralness. And that was something, from my own understanding of intelligence, because I think that's one of the things I wanted to get away, not get away, but like get from working with AI is like, what do I need to explain better to be able to actually communicate better visually with humans, And my idea of comforting hands is 2 hands. But that little AI thought that was a lot more than 2 hands. And then once it came back with that, I was like, oh, I love this. Like, this is so upsetting. And then it's a really weird, if you hit me up online, I'll send you some of the outtakes of that video, because it did some really truly cursed moments where a person would appear in the corner and unprompted, totally terrifying. And it'd be like hands, gremlin, hands. And I'd be like, who is this? So it's really, really terrifying. And that's one of the ones that'll get worked on more. I'm working with the developers of this AI. So one of the things as those things happen is that, I bring it back to them and go, why is this happening? Where is this coming from? And we find where the bleed is, right? From different ideas or different things that it's reinterpreting, and try to give it more guardrails and kind of season it. So my plan is to continue to build work with Nilor. I think it's really interesting to get that level of manipulation. It interests me to see how specific you need to be and how interesting the misinterpretations can be.
I mean, it's interesting to me too that one of the things that comes out of that is the potential for a lot of ambiguity, which because I didn't really read those, I saw braiding as being part of what was going on with the multiple hands, lots and lots and lots of hands. It did have a comforting quality to me, because I was associating with this kind of braiding of fingers and braiding, and it got kind of gnarly toward the end and then changed tenor. But for a while there, I got that connotation came to me. So, and I think it's open enough that you can kind of get very different feelings from it, which is kind of one of the nice things about it too, is that it's not didactic. It isn't necessarily helping you make didactic images and image manipulations. It's maybe opening them up so they can be understood and interpreted in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part, I think, of a lot of my work, the experimental short stuff and the live stuff. I really don't like folks to come out and be like, I knew exactly what that was about. You know, like that's, if I was being that direct, it would be incredibly boring to me, because then I would also understand myself in a way that this whole thing for me would be unnecessary, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there is a real transmutive property and a real therapeutic property for me of working in collage and working in motion collage specifically, and how I think about time, how I experience time, how I experience memory. And I think my whole career of mixing visuals and making visual work has been really, really deep work that someone else can feel extraordinarily superficial about, and we're both really okay with it. You know, like they can leave and be like, I had a nice time. I saw some interesting art. The colors were beautiful. And then someone else who maybe is having a deeper experience or going through something in their own moment can connect in a way where, you know, they're realizing they should go visit their grandma while she's still here. Or they're realizing that, you know, everybody is really unhappy being in a body, but we stuck here. You know, like there's all those kinds of things that I think are available to people with my work, but I hope it doesn't feel forced. You know what I mean? Or like, you have to think about heavy stuff. Like, no, whenever you're hungry, you know, like I'm a very like, the food is there whenever you're hungry.
You're talking about food again.
I'm fucking hungry, John.
That might be
it's really bad. The hunger is really bad.
I think that's our cue.
I think so too.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get you something to eat.
Okay. Thank you. Wait. Thanks to John so much for doing this interview with me. Incredible, John Corbett.
Incredible, Kim Alpert.
Thank you so much, ESS.
Claire Rousay. Amazing.